Ladies and gentlemen, citizens of the universe, this is Roster Watch. My name is Alex Dunlap. I'm joined by Cody Carpentier. And Cody, we're 2 days out, man. We're 2 days out from the NFL draft. It's like, as always, it's like Christmas in April. More and more information continuing to come out, more and more news from insiders. And so today, what we're going to do is we're going to go through. I guess tomorrow we'll just go through our mock drafts that we have to turn in for the Huddle Report competition. But today, let's go through a mock draft together. Let's pick each pick one by one, and we'll see what we come up with to put together an NFL 2025 mock between you and me as far as the first round.
I just want to first off from the jump say that we got a lot of outpouring positivity towards your intro, and some people are saying like they want it in their ringtone. We got a 5-star review on Apple. They were like,
ringtone.
We want this as my ringtone. We got some comments on YouTube saying the same thing. So
we need to find out a way that we can have the Roster Watch theme song on when we come in. I always feel a little bit naked doing it without the music behind me, but
we'll dial it in.
Got to do it for the pod or do it for the YouTube somehow. All right. Well, who's first in this? Who's first in this? And are you going to keep a list so we don't screw up and pick somebody's already picked? Or
Yep. On my side, I'll do it. I'm not going to share the screen. Maybe I'll share it at the end once we get to a certain spot, maybe. But I'll just keep it on my end. I'll give you the 101 with the Titans, and you get all the odds, and I'll take all the evens.
No, I got to take 9 and 11, and I have to have 7.
All right, I'll do it then. I'll do 1. All right, 101.
I don't want 6 either. I don't care, dude. I'll take either one.
All right, take it then. Let's go. Tennessee Titans, 101.
Okay, Tennessee Titans are going Cam Ward.
Yeah, that was so hard.
Yep.
Not a lot of conversation. All right, Cleveland Browns. This will be easy. We've talked about this the last couple of, the last week or two. Is the 1, 2, 3 is pretty straightforward. So Travis Hunter, go 102 here to the Cleveland Browns, the cornerback / wide receiver from Colorado.
Okay, number 3 to the Giants is going to be Abdul Carter. I don't think that these need any conversation, really.
No, they don't. They're straightforward. That's what I said. Like those top 3 selections are the top 3 selections.
Dude,
now,
have you seen what the new favorite is on DraftKings for the exact betting order of the top 5?
I have not. I have not seen the exactas. When did they drop?
The top 5 stuff. I don't know. I was looking at it this morning. I'd have to find where it is, but it's gone. We'll see how this goes, and then I'll tell you if what the way that we did it falls with the top, the plus 130, the chalk top 5. I'll tell you it's different after yesterday's.
The chalk 5, eh?
Yep.
All right. 104 to the New England Patriots. It's been rather consensus that it's Will Campbell here. If we look at the odds for the 4th overall selection, the 4th overall selection is Will Campbell minus 850. So it's gotten longer odds there. And if you go down and you look at the Patriots by themselves, the odds are not available on FanDuel where I'm looking. But I think I'm just going to go with Will Campbell here. I'll be honest with you. Like I said, over the course of the last 2 hours, we've seen some Kelvin Banks stuff come out. Albert Beer had a
Have
thing.
we?
Yeah, Kelvin Banks, Albert Beer was like, he's going to go way earlier. He's got quotes about, him being a more, gosh, what's the tweet? I quote tweeted it, and I just did the "you're welcome" bow from the guy from The Office. And so the quote says, I think he could go as high as 6 to the Raiders, and I wouldn't be stunned to see him land at 9 to the Saints, 10 to the Bears, or 11 to the Niners. Banks is more of a prototypical left tackle than Campbell and is more polished and pro ready than Membu. And I just literally, like I said, put the gif of the guy from The Office bowing and saying, "You're welcome," because it's not like we haven't been talking about this. And this is the definition of the flat circle coming to completion. If Kelvin Banks does indeed go top 10, it was always a lock all along. But I will go Will Campbell for the conversations that we've had, the positivity that we heard around the Mike Vrabel meeting with Will Campbell. Like I said, I still think I still think it's fishy, and Kelvin Banks has a shot here at 4. Vrabel was down there at that pro day. He didn't go to any mini pro days, but I'm just going to stick with Will Campbell for now.
I'm going to go with what the new chalk top 5 is. And after yesterday's news with the Jacksonville Jaguars wanting a playmaker on offense, I can't put Ted McMillan in this mock unless we get word from Schefter. It's like, the Jaguars are flying in Ted McMillan to Jacksonville to have him celebrate after the pick or something. Like I'm not doing it short of that. So I'm going to go with the blue chip playmaker here, dude. The guy that's going to help Trevor Lawrence and Ashton Genty. We know he's going to go super early. I think this is where he goes. I know that, McShay was talking earlier today about how he could end up falling. I don't see it. I think he's thinking that because he's saying that Ted McMillan's going to go here, and I just don't believe Ted McMillan's going to go here. I think if you're going to, dude, honestly, man, if you want to, and he's obsessed with this stuff about T. Higgins and Justin Ross and all these dudes and all. I'm just like, well, if you're just looking for, it seems thin to just say that he needs another tall wide receiver.
Yeah.
You can go get those guys later. And I refuse to believe that Gladstone just thinks like, all right, this is the only tall guy we can get. We talked about it yesterday. You can get Jaden Higgins,
Lazy.
you can get Trey Harris, you can get all the rest of this stuff. And here's the other thing. If you want to take it to the old 200 IQ level, what you could say is like, if they want a playmaker, why not take a guy that is on a lot more people's boards as a blue chip and like a Colston Loveland?
Mm-hmm.
He's tall. If we're just talking tall, it's just stupid. I think that Genty's more of the game-changing weapon. You have your alpha. You have your alpha wide receiver. You've already hit on him. He's in the fold. He's going to be on a rookie deal for the next 4. Right, if you want to, 4 more seasons. If you really want to, 5 more seasons. So you're literally into Ted McMillan. You're drafting a guy who is going to be unless you feel like the cumulative effects are just going to be that much bigger by having Ted plus Brian Thomas Jr. I don't get it, and the fact that Adam Schefter put it onto his report that it looks like Travis Etienne is going to be available versus Trey. Like I'm putting Genty here. 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right. 6 then to the Las Vegas Raiders.
It's hard.
So I've often said that I've done like the 7-round mocks or whatever over on the draft ranking show, and I put Embu here, and the Raider fans just came out. It was the most viewed video I did all spring, and it was like Membu's not going to be there because DJ Glaze XYZ. We've started to hear a little bit more offensive line. We also know that there's been the Jalen Walker conversation. The odds right now for the number 6 overall pick is Genty plus 110, Membu plus 280, Walker plus 600. And my selection, Mason Graham plus 800 here, number 6 overall. I'm plugging him in.
Yeah.
Again, I'm much more in line with the 2 guys. People say like Michael Williams has got his hive right now, but the 2 guys that have had a consistent hive the last month or 2 have been Mason Graham and Jalen Walker amongst all of these teams. Both of these guys are going to go really early, and if Mason Graham doesn't go 5 to the Jags, he's going 6 to the Raiders because they know you think back to Spy Tech in Tampa, and I know he didn't draft those teams, but he was a part of those teams where they based that defense around that interior and Vita Vea. And I know Vita Vea is not the same player as Mason Graham, but he was, the key cog in that defense. And you think back to, Pete Carroll in Seattle, I think he was there when they acquired Poona Ford, maybe before that. And then he had Jaron Reed. They drafted Malik McDowell in the first round. Like the defense and the interior is important. So I think Mason Graham here to the Raiders next to Christian Wilkins with Max Crosby and Malcolm Kuntz is one of the better defensive front fours in the league.
What do we? I mean, so I'm with the Jets next at 7, and I don't know whether or not it's the reporting that we've heard recently about how some people think that Aaron Glenn might want to target a defensive player, and the names that were invoked were Jahdae Barron from both Schefter and McShay. Yep. And then it feels too early for Barron for me here. I wonder, do you think that just coming from Detroit and being part of the decision making there to get like just a stud blue chip edge and a guy like Hutchinson. I know it's a different kind of play. Jalen Walker's a different kind of player, but edge is a need. And my question is this: I'm looking on DraftKings. Is Jalen Walker going to be considered um, linebacker or D line / edge? I think he'd be considered linebacker for betting purposes, right?
Well, I don't know. Whatever he's listed under, I don't know what they would list him under.
Well, it's just for the
Probably. Well,
for the draft team specials. I'm just saying, like, so for the
looks
Jets,
like
so taking an offensive lineman's minus 180, a tight end is plus 300, defensive line / edge is plus 450, and linebackers plus 1,000.
looks like it's linebacker, because if you scroll down to the first defensive lineman / edge drafted non-Abdul Carter, it's Graham, Michael, Shamar Stewart, Mike Green, Ken Grant, Walter Nolan, Donovan Ezeruko. Like, he's not listed there, so it's probably linebacker.
Man, the books do not think that they're going to be going.
I mean, you just kind of said it yourself. If you think back a year ago to that Detroit defense, what did they do in the first and the second round? Terry and Arnold and Brian Branch.
We really going to put Jahdae Barron here?
I mean, you might. It's been the gas lately.
Yeah, and then the stuff, didn't Breer say something about that too? I thought I saw a tweet saying he's going to go earlier than you think. Was that not him? I'm getting all the insider reports all mixed up now.
That was Michael Williams was for sure on there. I think it was Michael and Jahdae Barron.
For this one, let's put Jahdae Barron here.
Okay, Jahdae Barron, come on down to the New York
Jets at plus 1,500. Dude, do I really want to put Barron here? I don't think he goes this early. We talked about it. I'm not putting Barron. I don't want to do it. So this isn't the real. This isn't the real NFL where you put in the card, you can't, and there's no takesy backsies. I mean, dude, the conventional wisdom would be like, if we go by the odds, send him Mimbu or send him Tyler Warren, right? I
mean, the Jets, you say they need edge and stuff, but it's like they got Jermaine Johnson. They got Will McDonald, who had double-digit sacks. Johnson's coming off an injury. Michael Clemens is good. They acquired Eric Watts. Like, I don't think they really need edge that bad. Corner two is open spot. Right tackle's an open spot.
Right tackle's an open spot. Give him Mimbu.
I like that. What's the odds on Mimbu there?
Minus 180 for tackle. Just send him Mimbu. I think that's probably right.
Carolina Panthers picking at pick 8. This has been Jalen Walker conversation, a little bit of Tet McMillan conversation here.
No, come on.
Jalen Walker's plus 145. The only two names I've heard really surrounded around here is Jalen Walker and Tet. Michael, not quite as much. I think
Mimbu has been talked about.
He's done. He's not available.
I've thought about Mimbu. Well, you're saying right, but people talk about Mimbu.
Michael Williams, he's plus 360 right now. He's got the second best odds, second shortest odds. But his profile from a performance perspective and availability perspective would not equal to what Dan Morgan has said about what he's looking for in the draft. So I'm between Jalen Walker and Tedero McMillan. And I think you can really tell yourself a story, not because Tet McMillan deserves to be here, but because they need another receiver. I'm going to go Jalen Walker here, number 8 overall to the Carolina Panthers.
You're going to go Tet. It's going to jump off a bridge. Okay, so what are we on? Saints now? Yeah. So Saints. Give me
this is the tough one.
No, I don't think it's that tough. I think if they were on the clock here, let me just make sure and see who some of the younger. Make sure I'm not forgetting about anybody here that they might have taken. Okay, so we know Cam Jordan is old. Oh, dude, Foskey. I forgot they took Foskey in the second round 2 years ago, but they're going to take Michael Williams here. Big, long, rangy Cam Jordan replacement.
I think that makes the most sense. He's one of the names there. I think Shamar's a sleeper, but again, the profile is not as complete. So Michael Williams off the board
And
from Georgia.
if you take the player here who I think you might, we
You know
will
who I'm
have
taking here.
used our top 10 that we said that we'll go in some order from yesterday.
And yeah, you know exactly what I'm taking here. I'm going Calvin Banks.
Oh, okay.
Left tackle. Left tackle, Texas Longhorns. He comes off the board here and plugs in for the Bears right off the rip.
Are you really going to take that?
Who else should I take?
I was going to say Tyler Warren.
No.
Well, I know that you don't like it, but you don't. If we're doing a predictive one, you think that the Bears would take Kelvin over Tyler Warren?
I think the Warren stuff is dumb. I think it's wrong.
What are the betting odds on Tyler Warren?
Plus 400 for both Genty and Warren, plus 600 for Banks and Loveland.
Yeah, offensive linemen's plus 250, tight ends plus 250.
They must. They have weaponry. They must. And you can get a quartet in or running back in the next round with both of their picks. You're not getting a tackle at this level.
No, I get
in the
it.
Second round. You must protect and you must allow Caleb to do as much as he possibly can.
I think maybe two Texas players go back to back here. Then unless you think. Let me ask you this: if the 49ers have it feels like to me from what the 49ers pundits have been saying, it's that defensive line is sort of what they really need to focus in on, right? Interior defensive line. And it looks to me, by the looks of their roster, I mean, I can definitely agree with that too. I'm wondering what you think about Jade Barron here, considering that they do have, they have a nickel that they like, and I can't ever say his name. What's his Diamador Lenore?
Yep.
But and they have the young safety, the young corner that they have that's going to be apparently stepping up into one of the corner roles in Renardo Green, who they took last year in the second round.
I think he was a Shrine Bowl guy. Yeah, he had a good Shrine Bowl for Florida State.
I just wonder if they complain about their safety play and stuff too. And I wonder if the fact that just Jade can play all those positions, Kyle Shanahan, of course, is a Texas Longhorn himself. It can give him a lot of flexibility back there. And if they don't do that, then
what about D-line?
Well, is this too early for Walter Nolan or Derek Harmon or something?
What about Kenneth Grant?
Oh, I think it's too early for Grant. Is it too early for Harmon or for?
I mean, you look at those D tackles, man. D tackle is the clear biggest need for this defense.
Yeah, it really is.
So we've heard the Walter Nolan stuff that that's kind of a flat circle candidate. He's going to be a locked in top 20 pick. Ken Grant, everyone loves him, but he's a little more of a 2-down guy than he is a 3-down guy. I think Walter Nolan has legs.
Let's send him Walter Nolan. The draft's a flat circle.
Is there even odds on that?
On D-line?
On Walter?
I haven't seen any on Walter. I'm looking on DraftKings where I'm just looking at the position that they take. And so for Walter Nolan, or for
Minus 700 to be a first round pick.
defensive line edge is plus 125.
I got defensive line edge at plus 160 on FanDuel. All right. Cowboys at 12. Running backs available. Will Johnson's available. Both the tight ends are available. Tedero at McMillan. Matthew Golden. I'm going to go Tedero and McMillan here. Lock it in. Cowboys 12.
I think that's right. Okay. Well, I'm going to set up the Tyler Warren at 14 thing easy for you, I guess. Because I think that the Dolphins at 13 have to take a left tackle. They have to. And I think that if you don't take Banks, there's a good chance Banks goes at 11. I honestly think that Banks goes at 13, though. I think that's what I might do in my mock.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go with Josh. I'm gonna go with Josh Simmons. You talked about it. Josh Simmons from Ohio State, injured last season. You talked about it yesterday. So correct. Drew Rosenhaus is his agent, correct?
Yep.
Drew Rosenhaus of the 305 of Miami-Dade. I think that he's probably he's certainly had conversations with the Dolphins about where Simmons is health-wise. If he was totally healthy for the entire season, who knows? We could be talking about a total cinch OT1 in the whole class. They need it. They need it bad. It might feel a little bit early, but I don't think it is.
So we're going to go Josh Simmons here, tackle to the Dolphins.
Yes.
13. Okay.
What do you think of that?
I like it. I love it. I think they need to go offensive line. Whether it's Banks, Simmons, Zabel, Booker, they need to go offensive line. Colts at 14. You said tight end. You're going to give me the layup with Tyler Warren. Tight ends plus 115 for the Colts. The only other spot I would look is offensive line because they lost Ryan Kelly and Will Fries in free agency this year. They have 2 middle round picks from last year, Matt Goncalves from Pittsburgh and Tanner Bortolini from Wisconsin, plugged in right now at center and guard. Think you could tell yourself a story where they would go Gray Zabel here, but I'm not going to do it. I think Warren's going to be just too high on these boards. It also, we don't know it too. It could potentially be Loveland. It could potentially be Loveland here, but I'm going to go. You know what? When you look at the Colts depth at tight end, and you got Drew Ogletree, big body, Mo Alley Cox, big body, Jelani Woods, big body, Will Mallory, F-type, Albert Akui-Bunam. What if it is Colston Loveland?
I mean, it could be, but the thing is, we don't have robust. The Ballard. It's like he's going to plug in all this stuff, and I think that
he's an athletics-based trait guy.
Yeah, but here's the thing: he was in his press conference the other day. He was saying that he doesn't even need the testing because of all the telemetry stuff that they do for their analytics.
Yeah.
So I'm not even sure what telemetry is, but I think that's probably stuff with different lasers and I don't know, GPS stuff or whatever as far as figuring out how fast these guys run. I think if you're doing that kind of stuff, I think as far as your on-field athleticism scoring, you probably have a pretty good grade on Colston Loveland. But I think that most people think that Tyler Warren is that's the overall better player.
I'm going Tyler Warren here, tight end, Penn State, 14th overall. We're almost halfway.
15th overall, we have is 15 the Falcons?
Falcons, yep.
All right, so with the Falcons, they have to go defensive line or edge rusher here. They just have to, and I think that edge rusher is where it should be.
Interesting note here. Interesting note. James Pierce and Mike Green, the 2 guys that have off-field stuff.
Yeah.
McShay said that both Atlanta and Cincinnati were teams that he thought or he had notes on for teams that would look past those off-field things.
I think that Shamar Stewart should be in the discussion too. So, and I think that Harmon should be in the discussion too, right? You got to get a you don't you feel like for these guys that you would have to get um, somebody is like a penetrating, like a B gap penetrator to make up for losing Grady Jarrett?
Yep. Same thing we thought last year, though, too, with Byron Murphy and Dallas Turner. That's where the mocks were at last year.
They can't keep doing this to us where we keep giving them an edge and then they just take some kind of skill guy. They have to do it this year. I mean, they have to. Their pass rush was historically miserable last season. I think without the off-field stuff, Mike Green's off-field stuff is certainly more concerning than what I've read from James Pierce. But I think Mike Green goes ahead of James Pierce. Is this a tough or is this tough?
I think it's one of these edge rushers. I just don't know which one. If it's Pierce, if it's Green, if it's Shadort.
Send them Mike Green.
Okay. Mike Green, edge rusher from Marshall. 15th overall. Number 16, we got the Arizona Cardinals. Couple, bevy of needs here, I would say, for the Arizona Cardinals. Will Johnson has fallen here to 16. I think cornerback's a good spot we could go. Kenneth Grant, I think, is interesting. The Cardinals odds right now on FanDuel, first player drafted is defensive line / edge plus 135, and then O-line. I'm looking at Zabel and Will Johnson. I don't really have a good feel on Monty, if I'm being honest. I loved Golden here for a little while, the receiver from Texas, but was kind of deterred away from that. They took Darius Robinson last year in the first round. They took cornerback Max Melton in the second round. I kind of want to. Do you have any thoughts?
I've been looking ahead to Cincy.
That's fair. That's fair.
But as far, I think that for the let me get back to.
Well, I mean, the thing is, they brought in two old dudes in Dalvin Tomlinson and Calais Campbell. It's like you could take Kenneth Grant here, and he wouldn't have to have the largest role, but you'd have a very meaty interior.
I mean, I could.
Shamar Stewart, though,
You could. I mean, look, dude. Look where Jonathan Gannon came from. Look at what they've been doing.
Yeah.
Look at what they do. They just draft those guys.
Yeah.
If there was one available from Georgia like that, I would just say just take that guy. Right.
But there's not.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Shamar Stewart here, Arizona. Texas A&M to Arizona.
Okay.
Pick 16. We're halfway.
All right. For the Bengals, I think that we still have Derek Harmon on the board, right?
Yes.
So that's the pick. Run it up to the podium. Derek Harmon, defensive tackle from Oregon. Who is falling in this draft besides Shadur Sanders? Out of curiosity, I don't have a best available board up or anything.
Will Johnson,
Kenneth
Grant, Colston Loveland, Tyler Booker, Jade.
Yeah.
Jade. That's about it.
Okay.
Matthew Golden, I guess. Seahawks. Seahawks are up here at pick 18. There's been a lot of different things kind of connected here to the Seattle Seahawks, including wide receiver, which is plus 390. But the overarching favorite here is offensive lineman for the Seattle Seahawks. They, of course, need to protect the ever troubled Sam Darnold under pressure on this offensive line. So I'm going to go ahead and take Gray Zabel off the board. He's a guy that I think should be gone by now, but there's a handful of spots for him between, I would say, 11 and here. So I'm going to go Gray Zabel, offensive lineman, guard, center from North Dakota State, Seattle Seahawks, 18.
So I'm Tampa Bay, right?
Correct.
Um, do you know what, man? I think that they haven't. I they haven't needed edge rush, right? What's the defensive line edge is plus 135. It's the top option for them. And with James Pierce, like the things about him off field is just kind of football character stuff, right? And it's not any kind of um, any kind of super. Not that I'm aware of any kind of super serious, troublesome allegation, right? It's just kind of like the guy's kind of wishy washy. I think bringing him into a defense with Vita Vea and Levante David and some of these guys, right? They just brought in Hassan Reddick, but you can have him kind of have him slot in over at the have him slot in because you have Vita Vea, Cansey, and you get James Pierce still over there on that other edge. Really quick first step. I think he's gonna. I think that Pierce is just a talented enough guy to where he should be off the board by now. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's to Atlanta or something like that. People might hate this, but they shouldn't. I think Tampa. If I was Tampa Bay here, I think what they would do is they would take James Pierce, edge rusher from Tennessee.
I think that's pretty sick. I think it's a pretty sick spot. You think of all the success that Shaq Barrett had there. I put Arden Key as a comp for James Pierce. So fun selection there. Broncos on the clock here at pick 20.
Oh,
this has been the chalk Omari and Hampton spot minus 130. Plus 400 is wide receiver for the Denver Broncos.
It is?
Yes.
People keep talking about that.
Here's the thing is that I think picking at 51, you put yourself in a fine spot to potentially get a running back. You also have heard trade up rumors about Denver, but that doesn't mean it has to be round one.
What about trade down rumors to the Giants trading up?
Here's the thing. Our correlation with Sean Payton is that he was connected to Mickey Loomis in New Orleans, and everyone just points at Mickey Loomis saying he's the guy that's always traded up. But Sean Payton was there for almost the eternity of those 20 trade ups and 0 trade downs. So, it would depend on that. But I would say, like, if I don't think Denver's going to trade up in round one. I think if they're going to trade up, they're going to trade up in round 2 from 51 up to get one of those running backs in, the 30s potentially. So if I'm looking at a starter here and, we were told, here's where my brain goes. My brain goes, all right, well, we've heard some Travion stuff. We know Omarian's been like the favorite here. And I think, okay, Matthew Golden's available. Interesting. Very interesting. And then I think Colston Loveland's available. And Evan Ingram, we know, hasn't been, the picture of health. And I start to just, which one of these guys is it?
I think you know who it is. Ben Albright would tell you if he's there, there's no way that they're not taking him.
Omarion Hampton?
Yes.
All right.
That's what he told me at the combine. He said if Hampton's available when they pick, they're taking Hampton.
That's what I think, but I just said, like I said, I think when I've heard the trade up stuff, it makes me think alternate. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is where we're at, man. We are 36 hours out from having to turn these things in officially. Under 36 hours out from turning these things in officially. And I just, I have to go through these, the next 36 hours is going to be painful on the brain. So
the next 13 minutes before I get on to my next show is going to be tough to be able to get this done in.
All right, rapid fire, no talking, just picking. 20 was Broncos, was Omarion Hampton.
Okay, 21 to the Steel. Is Jahdae Barron still on the board? He's not, right? He went way earlier.
Jahdae Barron is
He is?
Is still available because you didn't
Okay.
want to take him at 7 to the Jets.
Okay. So Steelers take Shadur Sanders.
What?
Yeah.
You got to take Jahdae Barron here.
No, I'm taking Shadur. I think if he falls, I think that they take him. What else are they going to do?
-1 off the board for Alex. He's not getting 32 right first round picks this year. 22 Chargers.
Easy.
22 Chargers. Colston Loveland, tight end, Michigan.
That's right.
Packers at 23.
Yeah, Packers at 23. This is where Jahdae Barron comes off the board here. They should have taken Cooper DeJean last year. They learned their lesson, and they are taking Jahdae Barron this year. They did lose Eric Stokes, who went to the Raiders.
All right, 24 is where I would generally plug in a safety named Nick Emenwari or Malachi Starks. However, Will Johnson, cornerback Michigan, has fallen to pick 24, and he's a Minnesota Viking joining Brian Flores' defense.
You just took Will Johnson? Okay. All right. So I'm in the Texans. I'm squarely looking at offensive line help unless there's some I don't have a big board pulled up. Is there anybody that's fallen egregiously?
All right. So my best available for my top 100 that you can get over at rosterwatch.com is Kenneth Grant he's my 12th overall player, Josh Connerly, Tyler Booker, Travion Henderson, Darius Alexander, Mason Taylor, Matthew Golden, Emenwari.
I think if I was picking here, I might pick Donovan Jackson, but I'm not. I'm picking for these guys, and they just basically got rid of their best offensive tackle and a first-round offensive lineman because they thought that the culture in that offensive line room was such trash. Bring me in the guy that everybody said, what?
Donovan Jackson's training in Houston right now, by the way.
Is he better than Tyler Booker?
He might be.
But Booker has just all the off-field stuff where everybody just loves him. Culture guy, glue guy, going to be good. You know what? Send them.
Which one is it?
He tested really bad, right?
Who? Booker? I think he was like the worst tester, yeah.
We know they're snooping around these offensive line guys. Send him Tyler Booker. Who's up?
In round 1? The Rams.
The Rams.
The Rams are on the clock here. And, I'm kind of looking. This is kind of weird. But so the odds right now, plus 260 corner, plus 290 offensive line, receivers plus 900. And if you look at the Rams, obviously they have Puka and Devontae Adams, and they got rid of Cooper Kupp, but they got Tutu Atwell right now out there. And I just wonder if Matthew Golden falls here, if Matthew Golden's the Rams pick.
Best available players. I wouldn't love that for fantasy.
Best available players, Kenneth Grant. We know they have a great interior. They just signed Poona Ford. They got Kobe Turner. It could be a potential where they bring in Kenneth Grant here, but he would be playing directly behind Poona. I don't think he's going to outplay Poona right away. Connerly's available. Darius Alexander's available. I think I'm going to go Matthew Golden here at the end of the first round for the Rams. Pick 26, Matthew Golden, Texas wide receiver.
Okay. So I'm the Ravens. We know that they wanted to do some stuff with their secondary. I'm just wondering if there's a corner right now that's
best corners available.
I feel like I don't think there is.
Emenwari and Starks, both safeties.
Yeah.
Maxwell Hairston's the corner. Trey Amos, both of those guys have had first round buzz.
Is Hairston attending the draft?
Yes, he was the 18th player.
Oh. Dude. So I mean, if I think if you have
And they took Nate Wiggins last year,
we
who
have
was the
Nate
fastest man.
Wiggins, they have Marlon Humphrey.
Remember, Wiggins was the fastest man last year, and Harrison's the fastest man this year.
They need, yeah, dude. Like yes, send them Hairston. Send the Ravens Hairston.
That's kind of the low key quintessential, like, hey, you just saw, now you see what Pittsburgh has in DK and Pickens, and like both guys that are 4-4 sub 4-4 guys.
Yep.
All right, now we got corners that can match up. All right, Detroit Lions here, pick 28, just 4 picks left in our full blown mock draft. Maybe we'll post this thing up when we post it on rosterwatch.com. You guys can see it because I'm not going to share the screen on YouTube. Go over to rosterwatch.com. Minus 190 to go defensive line here for the Detroit Lions. And you know what? They stayed in state with Aiden Hutchinson. They're going to stay in state again, and they're going to get Kenneth Grant to come and play on the interior for the Detroit Lions. I can't believe he fell here. This is a sick value.
Yeah, it's a good value for sure. Let's see. So on the Commanders.
Correct. 4 picks left.
Man, it's tough, dude. Because they could go defensive line. How would you do that right now? Because I think they would have loved Kenneth Grant.
You know who's got some helium the last McShay was talking about JTT going in round 1.
No, he's not. JTT's not going round 1. Are you kidding?
That's what he said. I'm just telling you what McShay said. I am not done with the show yet, but that's what he said.
I need to look at our
as a Raku.
That would have been a good pick for Baltimore too.
Yeah.
But dude, honestly, this should be Ezraku.
They need an edge or a corner for being
Jahad Campbell.
Jahad Campbell's a good one. But I mean, I think he's more of a 3-4 edge than a 4-3, which I think is probably their bigger.
Oh gosh, I'm trying. Are there any other options? I think it has to be. I think it has to be one of those two. They need. So they go get Tunsil. They go get Deebo Samuel.
Plus 180 defensive line / edge. Plus 330 offensive line. Plus
they don't have a
corner.
Okay.
They need to go defensive line.
Send him Donovan Ezraku from Boston College. He's staying on the Eastern Seaboard.
You're funny. Buffalo Bills here, picking at pick 30. 3 picks left. I think they would have wished that Kenneth would have fell. They lost out on Kenneth. They lost out on Harmon. Jahad Campbell's kind of a decent pick here. I'm going to go Jahad Campbell. I think we know how important the linebacker position is for Buffalo. We've seen Tremaine Edmonds, Matt Milano, like a number of guys.
Yeah.
I think Jahad Campbell.
I mean, but wait, aren't they just? Don't they need to go defensive line though? Yeah, I mean it's your pick, but I'm just talking it over.
I mean, they got Ogunjobi. They signed Ogunjobi this year behind Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones. Yeah, I mean, they definitely need a body there too on the interior.
Okay.
I mean, so my best available guys for D-line, if we went that D-line, so that would be a D-lineman getting here. It'd be Darius Alexander from Toledo, who we've heard in the last day probably not going to go round 1.
Mm-hmm.
Past that, it's all the second round guys: Shamar Turner, Tyleik Williams, Alfred Collins, TJ Saunders. It's all round 2 guys outside of Darius Alexander. So I think I'm going to kick the tires on D tackle to round 2 and take. I think I'm just going to take Jahad Campbell here, 30th. I don't feel good about it, but.
Do you think Donovan Jackson can play offensive tackle in the NFL?
Oh yeah, I mean he's got 35-inch arms, yeah, and he did it at Ohio State to get them to a championship.
And you know how the Chiefs and we're at pick 31. You know how the Chiefs always have to mix around guys and put Thuney at tackle and put this guy here and everybody just send them Donovan Jackson. They need to quit losing Super Bowls because of the offense, because of the offensive lines.
Would it be maniacal of me to have the Giants trade up from 34 to 32 to get ahead of the Browns? And would the Eagles be just a ultimate 4D chess play to allow the Giants to make the mistake of drafting Jalen Milroe at the end of the first round, knowing that he won't succeed and they get to just laugh at him for the next 3-4 years?
Get us out of there.
Jalen Milroe, pick 32. The Giants trade up above the Browns to make such a smart play. And Howie Roseman's the last man laughing once again.
This is Anthony Richardson, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is AJ Brown, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is Josh Allen, and you're listening to RosterWatch.